Hey y'all, Wackyworm here with another Dwarf Fortress tutorial. In this episode, we're going to talk about generating a new world for our Dwarf Fortress playthrough using the basic world generation screen. There is a more advanced world generation process, but since these tutorials are geared more towards new players to Dwarf Fortress, we're going to focus on the more simpler method for now. Now once you start up Dwarf Fortress, you're going to be greeted with this opening screen here. You can navigate this menu using the arrow keys, and you can make your selection by pressing enter, which we will do on the create new world option here. We're going to get a brief loading screen, and then we're going to see the basic world generation parameters. Now you can navigate through this menu by using the up and down arrow keys to go through the different settings, and the left and right arrow keys in order to set those settings. Now if we start at the very top here, we have the size of the world we're going to generate. We can go all the way from a pocket world size, which is 17 by 17 region tiles in size, all the way up to a large, which is 257 by 257. Now each step through these sizes here doubles both the length and the width of your world size, which means you're quadrupling the total area. Now the world size setting does not have much of an impact during your regular playthrough of the game in Fortress mode. What it does impact though is some things that happen during world generation. Number one, world size is going to place a maximum limit on a few of the parameters that we're going to establish for world generation. Those being the number of civilizations, the number of sites, and the number of beasts that can be in our world. And we're going to get into what each of those mean as we go to those options. The world size is also going to affect how long it takes history to generate for your world. Generally, a larger world is going to have more things in it, so it's going to take longer to generate the history for those things. We're going to start out with a small world. Now, if we navigate to the history setting, you can see that we can set a history length from 5 years all the way to 1,050 years. And this is going to define what happens to civilizations during this time. Are they rising? Are they falling? Many are going to be wiped out. It's going to define the artifacts and the historical figures that are present in the world. It's going to define the relationships between the civilizations. Are they at war? Are they at peace? All kinds of stuff like this is going to happen in the history generation of your world. It's going to have a very big impact if you play on adventure mode, but in Fortress mode, the impact is significantly smaller. It will affect things like how big, the next goblin civilization is that we might have to worry about invading us, and things like that. We're going to set history to be short. And in actuality, while it's generating history, you do have some control over that process, and you can stop that process at any point. So you're not limited to these 5 numbers here. Next, we're going to look at the number of civilizations. These are the number of distinct kingdoms or entities of a particular race that are present in the world. We're going to have, multiple human civilizations, multiple elven civilizations, multiple dwarven civilizations, and so on. And remember that this setting here in particular is capped by our world size. Larger worlds can have more civilizations. Obviously, the more civilizations there are, the more interaction there will be between those civilizations. There's going to be more wars, more trading, and all kinds of stuff going on. This is going to have a very big impact in adventure mode, but still in Fortress mode, it's going to define how crowded the world is, and it's going to increase your chances in running into other civilizations, whether for the better or for the worse. We're going to keep this on medium. The maximum number of sites setting defines how far those civilizations can expand outwards from where they were initially placed during the initial world generation process. So having more sites is going to allow those civilizations to expand further. It's also going to make them more resistant to being wiped from the map. If you have to take out several tiles worth of a civilization, it's going to be harder to wipe it out during that world generation and history generation process. We're going to leave this at medium. Next, we have the number of beast settings. Now, when we say beast here, we're not talking about lions and tigers and bears. We're talking about the big titans and mega beast and semi-mega beast and huge guys that are having the big impact on history generation. Things that are assaulting fortresses and things like that. This is not going to have a very large impact on Fortress plays. The general consensus is that it doesn't actually affect how often these large beasts will attack your fortress. But in adventure mode, it does mean that having a higher number of beasts means you're going to run into them more often. we're going to keep this setting on medium. Next, we have the natural savagery. This defines of the regular normal beast, like crocodiles and lions and things like that, how many of those are in the world that are automatically aggressive to our dwarves, that will attack our dwarves on site and just make living out in the world much harder for us to do. Next, we have the mineral occurrence setting. This is going to control how many metal-bearing ores are present in a general sense in the ground of our world. We're going to set this to frequent for our starter fortress, just so we have a good selection of those metal-bearing stones in the ground, and we don't have to worry about having to trade for metals right out of the gate. At least should be able to find some resources that we can produce ourselves, and we don't have to wait for the opportunity to trade to get those resources. Now, once all these things have been selected and set to whatever your desired settings are, you can press the Y key, and it's going to start generating the world. And you can see here we get a cool world generation screen. Already we are doing the history generation. You can see over here on the left side we're in year 110 and climbing, and lots of things are happening in the world. We have 8,000 historical figures. Almost 2,000 of those have died already, and 50,000 events that Dwarf Fortress has generated for our world. So here we have our generated world. It looks like this really awesome fantasy map of ASCII text and symbols and all kinds of awesome stuff, but we actually have no idea how to read it, right? Well, instead of explaining what each of these symbols is going to do and tell you, I'm just going to redirect you to the Dwarf Fortress Wiki, where you can look these symbols up yourselves on a case-by-case basis, because there are a lot of symbols out there. It's really, really helpful. The Wiki is great. Definitely check it out. And it's going to help you out a lot with telling you what's going on, and if this world is, it meets your needs and stuff. Maybe you find out after referencing that page you don't have as many dwarven civilizations as you'd like or whatever. Well, you can check all that out using the wiki, but right now all we're going to do is press enter to accept our world. Before we do that, you do have the option of pressing P, and you can export an image of your ASCII world here if you'd like. But I'm just going to press enter and accept the new world. It's going to save the game here, and it's going to have a brand new world for us to create our first fortress in, and that's going to complete the world generation process. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, please subscribe. Don't forget to leave any comments, suggestions, feedback, or clarifications in the comment section below, and I will see y'all in the next episode.